Story 1. My 21F parents, 50 SFM, took down all the trophies in the house except for my sisters, 22F. Have 5 siblings, an older brother, 30, 2 older sisters, 27 and 22, a younger sister, 20, and a younger brother, 18. My second oldest sister, I'll call her Baby, is a year apart from me and has always been the golden child, not to say that the rest of us were scapegoats. Baby did everything. She kept straight A's through school, was always MVP or champion on her sports and academic teams. Our parents kept a bunch of shelves for her trophies and medals, and it was always filled. They kept having to add more space. Since the rest of my siblings and I also did athletics and such, we also got shelves for our trophies, but they were never as filled and never as successful as Bebe's. She was competitive and always a winner. The only sport we ever were equals in was soccer because we played on the same team, but she always got MVP. There was a little resentment, yeah, but I knew it had to be benched. Bebe didn't have an ego or anything, she was just good at what she did, and it wasn't her fault that our parents recognized it. We get along really well. We both go to school near to our parents' place, but they've been in the process of moving houses and doing remodels, so neither of us have been able to visit. I know that Baby continues to do sports and actually has most of her college paid for by sports scholarships. Our parents' remodels were finished and we both came down to celebrate. They gave us the tour, and in the living room they have a huge shelf of trophies. I figured they had consolidated all the trophies, but later on, I went down while everyone was out on the deck and read the nameplates. They're all Babies. I could understand if my parents had maybe gotten rid of my older sisters. Most of hers were participation. But my brother was really successful with lacrosse. I did good at soccer and swimming. My younger sister has numerous academic accolades. My younger brother is a really talented weightlifter and wrestler. The fact that they got rid of all of our trophies for Babies is insulting. I'm assuming ours are either in storage or the garbage because they're not up anywhere else in the house. Our parents have never treated us any differently. They love and appreciate us equally, but I guess not. I just feel insulted. I was always vocal about how much I loved soccer and how important it was to me, and when I moved on to college, I kept with it. Sure, I was never the best, but I was good and I got trophies and medals. They just got rid of them all for Baby. I don't know how to feel. Am I just being petty? What could I even say to my parents? Right now, all I want to say is screw you guys, but I feel like that's unreasonable for a 21-year-old. Is there anything I can say to them? Seriously, is this just me being petty? TLDR, my parents took down my sibling and I's trophies and only put up my sister's. Relevant comment? OP. I haven't spoken to my siblings or Bebe. My other siblings live farther away, so they didn't come out, and I've just been trying to compartmentalize it. I did do some hunting around the house to try and find the trophies, but I didn't find anything, so my guess is either it's in their storage unit, in an unpacked box, or in a landfill. I'm going to try and talk to them about it later tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Alter Geeko, she's the only one still doing sports. Is she on track to become a professional athlete? OP, my younger brother and I still keep up with our sports, and a lot of Bebe's trophies were from high school, which was what was weird. If it had been a college trophy wall, it makes sense because I haven't won a ton of stuff with soccer. My brother has been successful with weights and wrestling, though. Beeb is getting her bachelor's in psychology and is planning on moving into sports psychology. Update February 3rd, 2018. Copy of the update. So I spoke to Bebe the night I wrote my post. I pointed out that it was only her trophies on the shelf, and it wasn't my favorite interaction. I think being away from her for so long definitely changed my perception of her, and I didn't really notice that she had changed, especially her ego. I showed her each trophy and nameplate, and she went, "Well, of course they're my trophies. When was the last time you got better than bronze?" I asked her if it didn't upset her that the rest of ours were basically hidden even though we've had a lot of dedication to our activities, and she said, "No, dedication doesn't make you a winner." Bebe told me I was wasting her time, told me to grow up and get over myself. Then she went to go hang out with our parents, and I think I finally got it. She was the golden child, and we were the scapegoats. The entire time I'd been there, they'd just been hanging out with Baby, and I was there too. I felt so upset, and admittedly I self-imploded. Having my own sister that I looked up to and admired treat me like that was just a slap in the face. Our older siblings were so far in age from us that we really got close and relied on each other. Later I got my parents separated from Baby and asked. They pretty much echoed her, telling me I hadn't earned my spot on the shelf, and that my trophies had gone in the garbage because they didn't impress anybody the way that Baby's did, and said that I was an adult and I should basically just suck it up. I've never been more hurt by anything. I don't think I fully realized the scope of it when I was younger, but it clicks now. My game was on the same day as Baby's, and they went to hers. They brought snacks to Baby's competition, but not mine. Everything for Baby was hosted at our house, but nothing for the rest of us. I pushed so much of it aside and called all of my suspicions jealousy, because my relationship with my sister was more important. But it didn't matter half as much to her. Her ego has gotten stroked for years on years, and they finally let it all come out and rear its ugly head. I was just flat out offended, especially that they threw everything out as though we didn't matter as much as Baby. They'd thrown everything out. I was just so mad that I ended up leaving, and my parents yelled at me for causing drama. I told my siblings about what had happened because I thought they had a right to know that their trophies got removed, and I did try to sound unbiased. It didn't really work, because my whole family is in a dramatic sinkhole. My younger brother called our parents sobbing. My older sister has been playing passive-aggressive and just flat-out aggressive phone tag with Bebe, and my little sister was so upset she just called me bawling. I've been trying to do damage control, but everyone else is just mad for what's happened. We all got a text from Baby that basically read like, "I'm sorry I'm better than you, but I deserve our parents' love more than you," which naturally got everybody riled up again and just caused more problems. This has been basically the worst week of my life, and I hate it so. Yeah, there's my update. My family won't speak to one another, and we're all in a big dramatic mess. TLDR. I figured out that my parents had thrown out all my trophies in favor of my sister's, and now my family is melting down into a heap of drama, and it's mostly my fault. Relevant comment? Lana bananas. I find it interesting you called her Bebe. At least in my culture, el la bebe de la casa means the golden child in the family. OP. Her name is actually Phoebe. Bebe was her childhood nickname. I googled it, and apparently Phoebe means bright, shining. What a coincidence. Bright locks? My family won't speak to one another, and we're all in a big dramatic mess. Not quite. Nobody wants to talk to Baby and your parents, but it sounds like there are 4 of you sharing a loss together. Here's what I think you can do. Go down to the local trophy shop and get 3 trophies that say, #1 sister, brother. Get one for yourself, too. Then mail them out with a card that says, "I know this is cheesy, but you won my heart. I love you as you are. Can you have one of your loser siblings over tomorrow for the Super Bowl? It's time for some new family traditions that don't include Ma, Pa, and Baby. Gorgolian. To rub it in more, get Baby a participation certificate. Psycho-opiates? Oh my God, this is so deliciously petty that it has to be done. Her birthday is this month. Petty feelings aside, I don't know what she's going to do the first time she gets anything less than perfect. I almost feel bad. Oopie on how her older brother feels. Sorry, busy day today. He's not very close to me, so he sort of gave the blank, "Oh, that sucks." And I figure he talked to my older sister. The age gap makes it hard to really connect with him, so he's never told me about how he feels before. And this isn't much of an exception. Story 2. Dad, 62M, won't spend Christmas with BL, 28M, and Mom, 60F, is blaming my wife, 36F. This is a throwaway account as I have work colleagues on my main that I don't want to know about my family drama, and spelling will be rubbish as I'm fuming right now. Obligatory all names have been changed. So, for the backstory, I 36F, and married to the love of my life, 36FK. We met when we were 17. She was out and proud whilst I was still in the closet, so we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019 and have an adopted 4-year-old son, Jack. This comes in relevant in a minute. My sister, 27F Sarah, has a long-term boyfriend, 28M Steve, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years, and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and all in all a crappy human being. He's also someone that likes to claim that he is just honest. But if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than him. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct these comments towards her, it's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is his one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions that she has said something back, but it's usually said in a joking manner which amuses my dad to no end. My mom is a peacekeeper and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah is the only one that obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about and simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day screaming for his mum before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts and went to their house to see if she was okay. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack as no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raise him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay, as it was so traumatic for her and Jack. Now, on to what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack, and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after going to see her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gatherings at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months as just a catch-up for everyone. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side, talking as usual. Only I could see that Kay was obviously struggling, so my dad and her went for a walk so she could clear her head. This is something they have done before, so nothing too unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this and asked why they had left and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained that about Tess and Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve, though, and he said she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago, and he still had days where his missed him so much it hurt. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut at that. Kay and my dad got back, and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch and started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullshit. She's getting all the attention of everyone because her friend died 3 fucking years ago. Get over it, for fuck's sake, we're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only it didn't happen the way I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Granddad weren't talking about Tess. They were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets. But if he want to be a dick, then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic fuckwad. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. That there is a reason he has no friends, and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out, and that Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she made a bigger impact on people than he would if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was rammed with people because she was so loved, whereas he'd be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that he'd told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside, and Kay apologized to everyone and said she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other. Then my mum told her what she had done was right, and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian had been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mum's house, as she had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that her and Steve wanted an apology from Kay, or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it our year to spend it with Kay's mom, so it made no difference to us, she got really upset, saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said she wasn't, and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. Then, today, my dad called me and asked if Kay's mom would mind a few more for Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve, so he and my granddad needed someone else to go. Apparently, after Sarah had called me, she's called Mom and started ranting, and my mom had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which he said no to, and they had an argument. And my dad has now decided that he's done with Steve, even if that affects his relationship with Sarah. He's not having it anymore. My mom wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I text Kay's mom, and she said they were welcome, so now my mom is furious, and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically, this has turned into a shit show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here, and the people in my life all hate Steve that much that Kay could have physically attacked him and they would all still think she is in the right. So that's why I'm asking internet strangers who might have had to deal with difficult family members. What can we do to get into a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. Wow, didn't realize how long this got until I went to post it. Sorry about that. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: for things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I wouldn't ever spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to shit on the holiday table, there is no path forward with them. OOP. If it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care, but it's my mom. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she is devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. Sarah, this is the issue, that Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I would be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what he said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay he will fall out with her if she apologizes, as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting. She said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mom happy and doing what I believe to be right. To another commenter, my sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says, as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. Mom, take the high road and rise above it have been two of my mom's favorite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he's saying things like that about Tess. To another commenter, if I hear my mom say take the high road one more time, I'm going to scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. Later that day, OP. Well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mom's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas, and Steve is not invited, so it looks like it's going to be just Mom, Sarah, and Steve for Christmas this year. How OOP feels about that? Vindicated, as my mom is like her parents. They're all peacekeepers. And if ever they have had enough, then it just shows he's not just stepped over the line, he's ran right past it. B. Mom. Kay's mom has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she is welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she is more than welcome. Obviously, Steve and Sarah aren't invited at all, but it's good that my mom has the option at least. Later reflection, I have realized that he has been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship, as they're very close. They have traveled all over the country visiting class car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on. But he doesn't know anything about cars, so there's no point in him going, even if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family, so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him. Update post, November 20th, 2024. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought I would give you one as things seem to be sorting themselves out. Kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. First thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mom's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mom and just constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mom this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see us and Jack on the 23rd, before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me, and it outright shocked my mum, as like I said, they are the biggest take-the-high-road type people I've ever met. But even they'd had enough. The next thing that happened was my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they want Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying and that the family loves Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after-school club with a recorder that I am sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and I out of the family. Organizing trips that he knows we would be able to go on. We wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball, and him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we are all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they're very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Granddad, Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit to go on Sunday and then out for dinner after. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and Dad to take him on the giant snowslide, and as my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued, and said he learned in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man, and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything that Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack or Kay, through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet, and then said that Kay's mum had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide it on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mum would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later I saw Mum and Kay's mum having a deep discussion whilst walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mum seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday my mum told me that she will be coming to Kay's mum's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mum told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that Mum was choosing us over her. My mum told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I'd won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the bastard of a whore. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what had happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They're all as appalled as I am, and my Ganny, Mum's mum, called Sarah and apparently told her she was dead to her as she won't have a bigot in the family. Sarah has been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she's making on IG. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mum, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him that he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah he is disgusted with her, but will be there for her if she leaves Steve. Until then, good luck. Mum has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive toward Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a dick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, then all the attention is on him and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think that they're both toxic and feed off each other's toxicity. She lets him get away with the things he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So Mum's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, extended family are angry, and Kay is being my rock, but I can tell she's really angry about what she said towards Jack. I'm just sad and done with it all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay, and myself. So there's that. Not the prefect update, but we move on. It will be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time, and not have to worry about Steve being a dick. But I'm sad that is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like seriously, fuck you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas/holidays. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, I don't think the dickish Bill and Sarah saga had concluded. I'm glad you'll have a peaceful Christmas in theory. I just think the pair of them are not convinced yet that they're shut out. OOP. It wouldn't surprise me if they try and turn up to my parents for Christmas, but we won't be there so they won't get far. As long as they stay away from me, Kay and Jack, then I don't care what they do. Commenter, may small children playing recorders with more enthusiasm that skill follow Steve everywhere. OP, this just made me laugh a little too hard. Thanks for that. Editor's note, wasn't sure whether to mark this one as concluded or ongoing. I've tentatively marked it as ongoing, but am happy to change it. Story 3. Aida for still going to my sister's wedding after my husband canceled my plane ticket? Here's the situation. My husband, 36, and I, 30, have 3 kids, 2, 4, 7. I'm a SOM, full-time, and I take care of the kids while my husband works full-time. My sister's wedding was last week. We live hours away, which is an issue for my husband. When we first got the invite, he told me that he wasn't going, that he will stay for the kids, and suggested I do the same. Since the wedding doesn't allow kids, and my husband doesn't want to hire a babysitter after the one we had robbed us. We had gone back and forth on this. But I insisted on going since that's my only sister, and I want to attend what might be a once-in-a-lifetime event for her. He chuckled at my statement, then we stopped talking about it. As the wedding was approaching, he brought it up and told me to miss it and stay with the kids. I suggested that since no babysitters were allowed then, I could get my friend to stay with the kids, but he refused. I ignored him, spoke to my friend who agreed to watch the kids, and booked a ticket to travel to my sister's town in time. My husband found out and went on about how he had work, and that the most logical solution is that I stay home with the kids and let him make his living. I told him that I already took care of the kids and they'll stay with my friend. Honestly, I grew impatient. The day of my flight, I dropped the kids off at my friend's place, then headed to the airport. I found out he had canceled my plane ticket. I was upset, but still insisted on going, so I went home and got into my car and drove 4 HRS to get to the town. At 5 p.m., my husband called and was freaking out on me, asking where I was. I told him I made it to my sister's town, and he blew up saying I wasn't supposed to go, even said he canceled my ticket to get me to stay. He demanded I return, but I said not until the wedding was over. He called me horrible, neglectful mom, then had his mom scold me and accuse me of abandoning my own kids. There was a huge argument ensued when I returned home, and my husband kept on saying I was horrible to leave the kids and to ignore him like that, and do what I wanted eventually. He's giving me silent treatment as of now, and I can no longer take it. I felt guilty and did not enjoy the wedding at all. Was I wrong for still going? Info. My husband dislikes my sister if it's relevant. Update. So a lot of people on here brought up the possibility of my husband lying about the robbery that happened months ago and accusing the babysitter of stealing just so I can't hire any other babysitters. He was the one who discovered the robbery. I never saw or talked to her after he kicked her out. Upon reading the comments, I'm now suspecting that he made this whole thing up. I'm going to contact the babysitter to get the whole story from... Hopefully I'm wrong, but I will talk to her and see if her story contradicts his in any way. I'll keep you updated. Relevant comment. Commenter. NTA. He's awful. It's ridiculous to suggest you missed the wedding as there were obviously childcare solutions, and to cancel the ticket is super abusive. I can't see how this doesn't cause massive damage to your relationship. He's ridiculously controlling. OP. Thing is, I had already suggested other solutions, but he was dead set on not letting me come. I ignored him because I was at my wet's end, and he wouldn't want it any other way. Commenter. Horrible, neglectful mom. From the man that did everything he could to not have to parent his own kids for a weekend. Your relationship is not healthy. He is manipulating and controlling. Hopefully the comments here open your eyes. NTA. OP. How I felt when I heard him say it. Not a new thing, though, because he has called me names before, but to say that I'm a neglectful mom? That stings hard. Commenter. Financial abuse? Yep. Isolating you from loved ones? Yep. Controlling behavior? Yep. NTA, and please leave the AH. He should be required to give you child support and alimony. You are not neglectful. Your kids were taken care of. OP. Thank you so much. The child care arrangement issue has been making my life X10 harder. After that babysitter robbed us, my husband decided that no babysitter is allowed into our home anymore. I disagreed because of how illogical his decision was, and now look at how much we're struggling. I'm struggling actually without outside help. Thank God for my friend. She's like a sister to me. Commenter. You're NTA either way, but info. Why did he have his mom berate you after he was done? You know you're NTA. He's obviously a control freak. And the way you said he wants to earn his money. His money. Like it's not yours, screams financial abuse. I'm honestly feeling like this is fake, but to give you the benefit of the doubt, you really need to think hard about the situation and realize that he's setting you up so you can never leave. And since you left, if you go back home after this, he's gonna make it harder for you to leave again. OP. He does it all the time. I was blamed by her when the previous babysitter robbed our house. I got called names by her and my husband too. It happened 7 months ago, but it still hurts like hell. Commenter. Info. Do you have evidence the babysitter robbed you apart from the missing items and your husband's testimony? It sounds like he is trying to isolate and control you. It is completely unreasonable to expect your wife to skip her only sister's wedding. OP. No, I wasn't home when it happened. It was after the babysitter left that my husband discovered the robbery. We never found the stuff, but my husband said it was her, because who else could it be? And then kicked her out even though I was the one who hired her. He told me he was the one paying her so I shouldn't protest. That's it. It happened months ago. Update posted on September 9th, 2022. I contacted the babysitter via social media. I sent her a DM telling her who I was and mentioning the incident that happened at our home. I didn't think she'd respond given that it's been over 7 months since she left us. But I was surprised when she responded in 2 HRS time. I again mentioned the incident to her and asked if she could explain to me what happened. She sent me a long wall of texts swearing she never took anything from our home and that my husband came home and was lashing out at her, and the kids for no reason. She said that they didn't talk to him that day, but then brought up a previous interaction they both had. Then she claimed that he touched her inappropriately while he was in the kitchen with her. This caught me off guard. I asked her to expand on that, and she said she wasn't sure it was an accident or that he did it deliberately. She said he didn't say anything, but his looks made her uncomfortable. She also said she was willing to let it go till she saw that he started leaving her texts days later demanding she respond to him. Then the day he accused her of the robbery, he just lashed out at her, criticizing her work, and then told her to leave and not come back. She said he didn't accuse her of anything being stolen, just lashed out and told her to leave. I couldn't wrap my head around this. I don't know what to say. Basically, she was saying he tried to hit on her, but then said she wasn't sure it was an accident. Then he just all of a sudden came home one day and lashed out, then told her to leave. I can't make sense of this. I went to try to speak to him on that, but he kept blocking my attempts to discuss it, so I blew up, showed him what the babysitter sent me, and he remained calm, which is completely out of character of him. He kept repeating the line, "She's lying to you," while I absolutely lost it on him. I threatened to take the kids and go stay with my friend, what I'm going to do today after he leaves the house. Since he said that I can't do that, then I'm waiting till he's out. He kept calling me crazy to believe some kid's story over his, and insisted that I was looking to dig up dirt to start a fight. I refused to continue fighting, I just kept my distance from him. This is just horrible. I did not see this coming, and I feel like a cold wave just hit me, and I don't know what to say about this, and worst of all is that I have no evidence or proof. I'm going to be taking some space from him for now till I clear my mind and think of what I'm going to do going forward. Relevant. Comment. Commenter. Take the kids. If you have messages, screenshot everything. Screenshot what the babysitter told you. Screenshot you buying the ticket and then he canceling it. If his mother thrashed you via DMs, screenshot that too. Don't yield on this. The first step of everything is realizing something is not good. You already reached out that step. Your family will help you. Your friends will help you. Don't yield, don't give up, and good luck. OP. Yes. I'm too overwhelmed right now, but I'll make sure to store those messages. I already keep all his messages, including his mom's verbal attacks toward me. It's awful the way he and his mom treat me, in front of the kids no less. I'm at the end of my rope and I feel suffocated and my chest feels tight and heavy. I will need to get fresh air later on and away from the kids just so I could get my thoughts in order. Commenter, deleted. OP. I fully believe, and I'm now convinced that the reason he canceled the plane ticket and went ballistic when I attendee the wedding is because he hates my sister. He calls her a slut on the regular and yells at me about how she sleeps around, which is none of his freaking business. I'm just so mad at myself for letting him get this far and humiliating me and bad-mouthing my family while I stood there and took it. I was an idiot. Commenter, I wouldn't be shocked if he hides your keys or otherwise makes your car inoperable so you can't go anywhere. If that happens, phone a friend. Call a cab rideshare and I will personally Venmo you money to get away. When you leave, take important documents, birth certificates, social security cards, etc. with you. Hide them. Does he know where your friend lives? If so, try to find another friend that he doesn't know. His calmness is terrifying. Calm before the storm. If anything even begins to escalate, call the police for an escort. OP. Does he know where your friend lives? If so, try to find another friend that he doesn't know. He does, and I'm worried he will come to her house where the kids and I will be staying after he finds the house empty. Honestly, I'm not sure how I'll act if I see him there. I might just lose my temper. Commenter. Have you any family members, friends you can call to be with you for when you take the kids, just in case he stops remaining calm? OP. No, I'm waiting till he's out, then I will leave with the kids. I had done it before. He couldn't do anything about it but make empty threats. Story 4. My 26F boyfriend, 26M of 3 years, abruptly dumped me via text because of someone else's Facebook. A few minutes ago, my boyfriend of 3 years dumped me via text. It really shocked me, and his reasoning was that he found a Facebook profile that was apparently mine. It's not. And that I was a lying bitch who plays games and that we were done. This completely came out of left field. Last we spoke, which was not even 2 hours ago, everything seemed fine. I'm a few hours away ATM because I was visiting my family for Father's Day. Also, I've been helping my dad because a car accident that has left him disabled. It's been really hard for him, so I decided to spend a weekend with him. My boyfriend had to stay behind because of work. My phone was on vibrate and I woke up to it vibrating somewhere in my room. He called twice in a row, which is a little unusual, so I tried to call him. A part of me was worried something bad happened because he never just calls seconds apart. He forwarded my call to VM after one ring, and then I got a string of enraged texts. First was a picture of a profile of some woman who shares my name, and the rest were filled with anger. How I played him for a fool, and that he was done playing games. Firstly, the woman in the pic looks nothing like me. She has black hair and blue eyes. I have auburn hair and green eyes. I also have a beauty mark above my lip on the left-hand side, and this woman has nothing. My boyfriend blocked my number, Facebook, and all that lovely stuff, and I am at a loss. This is all very sudden, and all I feel is anger and pain. I don't want my dad to hear me crying. He has enough on his plate to deal with. A little background, my boyfriend cheated on me a few months into the relationship, and I didn't learn about it until a year later. I ended up forgiving him, and things seemed fine. He was remorseful and did his damnedest to regain my trust. I can't help but wonder if he did this because he did something wrong and wants an excuse for it, or he wanted to dump me in order for him to cheat without cheating. Tomorrow is his birthday, too. I wonder if he wants to be free for that day. It just makes me cry. I won't be taking him back. No way in hell. He's living in my house, nothing is in his name, he can fuck off. Right now, I'm kind of shattered at the moment because I invested so much time and emotion in this person. I forgave him when he cheated on me, and now he's pulling random Facebook profiles out of his ass to use to break up with me and say I'm the shady one. What can I do to help myself? I'm really at a loss right now. Thank you. TLDR. Boyfriend of 3 years dumps me via text, accusing me of having another Facebook, despite the fact the woman in the profile looks nothing like me, and the only thing we have in common is our name. How do I move on and heal from such a callous action? Update June 17, 2014. Thank you guys for your encouraging words and wisdom. It's helped out a lot. Myself and 6 other people went to my house this morning, including my brothers and lawyer uncle. My ex was sitting in his computer room playing LOL, seemingly oblivious that I came home and anyone entered the room. I promptly tapped him on the shoulder and asked him to turn off the game and pack his stuff. He shrugged my hand off and continued to talk to his teammates through what I assume was Skype or TeamSpeak. My patience for his BS is in the negative, so I bent down and unplugged the surge protector from the wall. My ex flung the headset that I bought him off of his head, and it bounced off his monitor. He stood up screaming how that was a ranked game and that I was fucking up his stats or whatever he was foaming about. My brother stepped between us and told him that he had 10 minutes to pack his things, and only his things, before we called the cops to have him removed. We all stepped out of the room and watched him unplug his computer and neatly stack his stuff. He tried to take my Ethernet cable, and I was like, nuh-uh. A friend brought in a box, and we watched him go through the house, taking the seldom things he owned all the while texting away on his phone. It turns out he was saying some ugly things on his FB, but whatever. That is childish stuff and water off a duck's ass to me. He tossed the box of clothes, sneakers, and DVDs, console games into the back seat of his shitty 1995 Honda, and then made it a process to take his computer out. He was more concerned his LOL game and his computer than me. He didn't make eye contact or speak to me. There was just an air of hostility that I can't even explain. I can't comprehend how someone could just suddenly hold such animosity towards someone they apparently loved. I sat on the stairs watching him go back and forth, my friend Jess recording the whole process on her cell phone just in case. She's pretty clever, LOL. It was really hard. I felt anger brewing under the indifferent exterior I was showing. A part of me wanted to throw an egg at the back of his smug head, but I know that it isn't worth it. He isn't worth any energy, negative or positive. The whole process took about 15 minutes, and we all watched on my lawn as he drove away. My uncle gave a big hug and left, and the rest of us ate pizza and watched some TV. As uneventful as it was, the whole experience was draining. It's easy when there are people around to talk to and occupy my mind, but when I'm alone, what he did keeps popping into my head and I start to get anxious. I tossed all of my bedding and sprayed my couches and chairs with deodorizer in the lame attempt of exorcising whatever foul things he may have done. I know, irrational LOL. Today I'm going to be heading to Bed Bath & Beyond to buy some new bedding and treat myself. I realized that being with him I didn't really love myself. I was too preoccupied with appeasing him. Any action I took in spoiling myself, whether it be new clothes, a game, or makeup, was met with suspicion. It was all in his whacked-out head. Being alone after being in a relationship for such a long period of time is daunting. I know I'll be fine if not awesome after getting that cancer out of my life. I had to set up a rule with my friends and family to not talk about him to me, because a friend texted how he was flooding his Facebook with pictures of himself smiling and being happy. I don't want to hear it. If he's happy that he is a resident of his mom's basement and cheats on good women with gutter scum, then so be it. In the end, whether it be 6 months from now, a year, 5 years, whatever, something in his brain will click and he will realize the massive fuck-up he did the last few days. As crappy as it sounds, I hope it makes him miserable. I will be changing my locks despite taking his copy of his keys, and I think I will add extra security just in case. When he was a teen, he vandalized houses of people he didn't like, and judging from his behavior, I wouldn't put it past him to do it again. Also, I am going to the doctor tomorrow to get tests done. I don't feel anything wrong, but I won't be taking chances. This whole thing has been a life experience. He hasn't ruined any future relationships for me. He did me a favor to up my standards and reinforce my self-worth. I know what to look out for now, and I know what kind of person I deserve. Thank you again, you guys. You brought a lot of great points, and it helped tremendously. TLDR. Went home with an entourage consisting of big burly brothers and a lawyer. X had a temper tantrum that I interrupted his ranked LOL game to kick him out. Priorities. Other than that, it was peaceful. Going to splurge on nice things today, and tomorrow I will be getting STI tests done. Thank you so much for words of encouragement and compassion. Our relationships. 3. Relevant comment. Well, how dare you interrupt something as important as LOL just because you are the one whose name is on the lease? Can't you understand? He was doing something important. Symbol table. For reals, though, isn't it like illegal to force someone to leave their living accommodations in 10 minutes under threat of violence? If the police had actually been called, and it was explained to them that he had been living there and they wanted him to stop living there, they can't actually remove him immediately, depending on jurisdiction. OP, it probably is. Knowing him, he wouldn't put the time and effort into pursuing it legally. The guy is inherently lazy. It was documented that he bragged about moving out on his own accord and leaving my pathetic bitchiness behind on his Facebook wall. So if he really did try to take it to court, I would show the judge those screenshots. He wasn't under threat of violence, though. He threw property in anger and came at me aggressively. Everyone was very peaceful in the matter, and it probably is immature to toss him out on his butt without forewarning. I'm just happy the leech is gone. Story 5. My 31M father, 67M, is now on his deathbed. He verbally, mentally, and abused me when I was younger and now wants to see me. I have no desire to see this man, but my mother and sisters are giving me hell over it, and my wife thinks I should at least go once. What do I do? I have 3 sisters that I love and a mother I adore, not always though. I hated them when I was younger because while my father would yell at me or belittle me for everything possible, they were the apples of his eyes. I did my best at school and karate. Nothing impressed him. Not when I earned a full scholarship to a prestigious university. Not when I was the valedictorian of my year group. Not even at 26, when I managed to start my own small company that has grown considerably since. No matter what I did, I was made to feel worthless. Less than a person, good for nothing, useless, a failure. I have lingering issues about it to this day. When I was younger, all I wanted just once was for my father to say, "I'm proud of you," nothing even close. He doted on my sisters and mother, though, and I'm not proud to say I hated them for it as much as I hated him. How dare they get away so lightly? How dare they get his smiles and laughter and kind words when all I had to get was cruelty? It took me a long time to finally begin a relationship with my sisters or mom that wasn't the jealous, angry son. Today, we are all very close. I love them to death and would do anything for them. Some time ago, my father was diagnosed with cancer. He's had other issues as well, suffered through 2 heart attacks and a stroke, and it seems as if his body can't carry on anymore. He's dying, and I don't care. I don't have it in me to care. And if he died, I could live the rest of my life having never seen him before he passed or knowing that I won't attend his funeral. He wasn't present at my wedding either. I did not invite him, which was very noticeable to many of my family members, but I didn't care. I'd found a woman who loved me, and that I loved, and I wanted to share that day with the other important people in my life that I love or strongly like. My uncle was always sympathetic to my case as growing up. My father, his older brother, was an asshole to him, and he understood why I wouldn't want my father there even while other family members thought I should have still invited him. Here's the thing: he wants to see me. He probably has only a few months left and now wishes to see me. My wife, mother, and sisters all want me to pay a visit to him. Well, my wife thinks I should go just once. She isn't pressuring me. She knows my history with him and says if I decide not to go, that's it then. My mother and sisters, however, do think I should go and have all spoken to me several times in the past month about this. The only person who's laid off bugging me about it is my older sister. I'm the second child. She's 34, and she was the one who say my father be a dick to me from as far back as she or I can remember. My 2 other sisters are several years younger, 26, 25. We met recently to talk about it, my older sister and I, and for the first time in years I broke down crying. I literally just let it out. I told her I can't do it. I tried to put everything in the past, but I can't. I hate that man and what he did to me mentally. I can't forgive him, and she says she understands. She said she'd speak to my mother and sisters. However, my mother and sisters tend to be very pushy. Anyway, do you all think I should go at least once? TLDR, dying father was an asshole to me all my life. He wants to see me once before he goes. Mother, sisters, wife think I should see him. I don't want to or care to. I'm confused about whether I should go or not, if only to give everyone except my father peace of mind. Relevant comment. For day 50. While only you can make the decision on whether or not you want to see him, it might be an opportunity for you to find some sort of personal closure. You don't have to go and tell home everything is okay and that you forgive him. You can go and tell home all the things you have said here and get it all off your chest. Whether he wants to listen and apologize is up to him. He may very likely be finally feeling remorse. Regardless, you may feel better knowing that you finally told him how you felt and what you has done to you. Let him know that you have succeeded despite him, not because of him. However, if you feel that this wouldn't help you, then I would just not go. No use going and just being uncomfortable or going just out of feeling like you owe it to your mother or sisters. You would just be resentful. OP. To be honest, the idea of helping him make peace with himself and me after years of being treated like dirt, it makes me sick. The idea that this guy who is the reason I suffer with bouts of depression and was even suicidal when I was in my late teens now could possibly want to tell me he's sorry, it doesn't sit right with me. I wouldn't even be surprised if he tells me that I'm still worthless, at which point I may have to avoid punching a dying guy in the face. Yep. I think you need to put your own mental health first. A few questions to consider. Is there anything you feel like you could gain from seeing him? Is there anything you want to say to him while you still have the chance? If he suddenly begged for your forgiveness, how could you see yourself handling that? If he swept the past under the rug and resolutely ignored it, how do you see yourself handling that? And the big one, no matter what happened when you left that room, do you think you'd feel better or worse than before you went in? Is there any situation that would give you some benefit, and how likely is that to happen? OP. Probably just hearing a soon-to-be-dead guy's last words to me. 2. Probably that if I have a son, I will do my utmost to be a far better father than he ever was. 3. I would say no. You had your chance. I tried to kill myself once because of you, and you didn't bat an eyelash, so you can die now. And I'm going to leave here, and you won't cross my mind again. 4. I think I'd be angry. He doesn't get the right to decide. It's okay between us. That my choice and mine alone. He doesn't get to decide on his deathbed. I hurt you, but it's cool. We're cool now. The big one. I can't say. Maybe worse rather than better. Maybe a mix. I'll likely be angry, though. Because here's why all my life I saw him as the big scary man who broke me down. Now I'm grown up and strong and doing well, and I can't look him eye to eye. man to man, and say whatever I might have to say, because I don't know what I would say if I went. It would probably just be spontaneous, but no, I have to look at him man to broken old fuck lying on a deathbed and pretend to care that he's going to kick the bucket for my family. Excuse my language. Deleted comment. Go and see your father and tell him this. It is the last chance you will have to make amends. It's the last chance you will have to potentially hear your father apologize, or for him to tell you that he is proud of you, but didn't know how to express it. He might not do any of that, in which case you are no worse off than you are now. In the best case, though, you might get some peace and closure. Obviously, it can't make up for all that has happened, but at least you will no longer have any what-ifs eating away at you. OP. Honestly, if I go, it will merely be out of curiosity to see what it is he wants in his final few days or weeks, making amends, telling me he's been proud but didn't know how to express it. Even if he did want to say things like that, the time for that was maybe a decade ago when I wanted his validation and respect. I don't anymore. I don't have any what-ifs. Maybe a what-if might have been, what if he'd treated me well instead of like crap? But that what-if disappeared when I cut him off nearly a decade ago. Girl in the Woods 12. It doesn't sound like it would be healthy for you to go. Did your mother ever acknowledge that what he did to you was wrong? I would just say to your mother and sisters that seeing your father would not bring you peace of mind, and your father actions caused you not to care about his peace of mind. OP. Yes, but I think as he's dying, they just want me to see him. Maximum. Would it make any difference to you if he wanted to say he was sorry? I have no idea if this is why he wants to see you or not. Would it make you feel better, or do you just not care? Regardless, it's 100% your choice. If you don't weigh to go tell your wife and older sister you need them to support your decision, tell your mom and your other sisters they need to stop talking to you about it. My experience with Dad was 100% different than yours. He verbally and emotionally neglected and abused me from when I was small until I moved out. The fact that he so obviously adored all of you made it even worse for me. I've managed to move on, and I have no wish to revisit the emotional pain and turmoil that I suffered. Please respect my decision and don't discuss this stuff with me anymore. But my experience with Dad was 100% different than yours. Please respect my decision. If you bring it up again, I'm going to have to exit this conversation. OP. It wouldn't make me feel better. I don't care anymore, maybe 10 or even 5 years ago. Not now, though. The only reason I'm curious is to see if he's remorseful or wants one last opportunity to be a dick. Like I said, I don't care. Not that he's dying. Not that by my birthday next year he'll likely have been dead for some time. Even if I visit him, I won't attend his funeral, nor will I ever visit his grave to pay respect, because I have no respect for that man or any other sort of positive emotion. I _want_hard_work. I had a father who wasn't abusive, but certainly not emotionally supportive during my childhood. He paid a lot of attention to his biological kid from another marriage. Our relationship got much better over the last few years, mostly because we made an effort to understand each other better. If I was in this situation, I'd be there, and it wouldn't be issue, because he made an effort while he still had years ahead of him. The reason I'm telling you this is that I'm 3 years younger than you. Yet it seems during this entire time where he thought he'd be alive, your dad never really made an effort to reach across the aisle and apologize to you or make amends. Not to be a dick, but deathbed confessions are cheap. His ego is finally out of the question now that he's facing his mortality, but where were these feelings during those 31 years? Your mother and younger sisters are thinking emotionally and are being extremely selfish because this is what they want. They want some cathartic moment to justify doubting you all these years and validate their views that your dad was some great guy. Fuck that. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with your well-being. I think you're better served by staying home and standing up for yourself. If they call you selfish or an asshole or anything heartless like that, then ask them where they think you got it from and hang up and let them deal with it. They were on each other's side during life. Why should death change that? OP. This actually makes a lot of sense, the way you explain everything. My older sister knows he was an asshole on some level, yet at the same time being his first child daughter, She was pretty much the apple of his eye. So she's a bit 50-50 it's on that. I_want_hard_work. I would really highly encourage you not to go. You sound like you'd be doing it only to appease other people. It's not right, and if you don't, you can see what the aftermath is, and whether or not your mother and sisters hold more loyalty to a dead man than their living flesh and blood. O.P. I know it won't tear us apart like so many people feel. My younger sisters never saw me get treated badly. By the time they were old enough to see what was happening, I'd been out of the house for a few years, so I can't blame them, nor hold it against them. I don't even hold it against my mother because she's old. She's ill, and perhaps one of the greatest tragedies in her life is that her husband and her only son have never liked each other, from my perspective. Even if I don't see my father and he dies, she won't hate me, nor will my elder sister. Update July 28, 2015, 3 weeks later. So I went to see my dad and it basically went like shit. I caved. I fucking caved and decided fuck it, I'll see what he wants. Maybe this is something worth hearing. I visited the hospital by myself. Now wife. No mom. No sisters. Just him and I. He looked old and tired, and just as I predicted, I didn't find it in me to be angry. This wasn't the man I remembered. This was just some old broken man. It would have been a waste of my time to feel angry, and yet I did. I was so pissed off because I couldn't stand across from him eye to eye and let him see that the son he treated like dog shit had built a wonderful life for himself. We didn't say anything to each other for around an hour. Then eventually I found my voice and said, "You know this is the last time we'll ever see each other, right?" No response. Then he replied, "I know." So I asked him why now. Why did he want to see me so badly that he had to send a message through my mother for me? And here is where I learned that my existence was fuck all to him. He admitted that he did it just to give my mom closure. She didn't ask him to do it, but he knew she wanted it. So I asked him why he treated me the way he did my whole life, and he replied, "I never wanted a son, never had any interest in one." It fucking hurt, but I kept listening and he kept speaking. He said that in the first few years of my life he tried his best to care about me, but eventually he realized he couldn't. Then came the final nail in the coffin of my relationship with that man. I never loved you, but I didn't hate you either. I just didn't care for you because I never wanted a son. I wanted to give you up for adoption when you were younger, but your mother would never have forgiven me. So I did my best to push you aside, and you would always try and get my approval for stuff. I felt bad at times, but I just didn't care for you. By that time I was crying. Me, a 31-year-old man, left my dying father in his hospital room and went to my car crying. I could have gone my whole life not knowing that. Fuck my mom, my sisters, my wife, and my dad. I'm just so pissed right now. There was a part of me that hoped we would bury the hatchet. Nope. I just learned he never gave a fuck. I will never speak of my father again. I will not attend his funeral or visit his grave. When he dies, I'll be at the bar drinking because the fucker is gone from this world, and I will do everything I can to be the father he never was. TLDR visited dying dad, found out he never wanted a son, wanted to put me up for adoption, didn't love me, didn't hate me, just never cared about me. Final edit from OOP, July 29th, 2015. Eat it. I just want to say thanks to everyone for your kind words, both in comments and PMs. They really helped a lot, particularly while I was hungover this morning and laying in bed thinking about life. Also to the stranger who gave me gold, thank you. Never had that before and it was quite unexpected. I've got a ways to go still. I feel like yesterday opened up wounds I didn't even realize had never really healed, and I'll be talking to my wife about it, and most likely a professional as well. I won't cut my mom or sisters out. I'm not angry at them. Their experiences with my father were different from my own, and I do not fault them for that. However, right now, the best thing for me is just to not be around them as much. So I don't think they'll be hearing from me for some time. Once again, I sincerely thank everybody. It was your comments and PMS that made me realize, yeah, it hurts like shit, but I can't let him have any more power over me. I'm in the prime of my life, and I've built a nice life for myself. I don't need a dying man's approval anymore because I've done the best I could for so long without it anyway, so here's hoping things will get better soon. Relevant comment. OP to a deleted comment. You know what I regret? I regret listening to my mother. I regret reading the dozens upon dozens of PMs and comments telling me to go see my dad, that I needed to do it. Most of all, I regret listening to myself, to that small voice telling me this was my one chance to hear him say something I'd wanted to hear since I was a child. If I'd never gone, I would have been curious, but I'm damn sure I would have regretted it less than I regret going to the hospital. Deleted comment. Well, maybe it was some form of closure, although a really fucking shit one. Good riddance. I don't get along with my father either. This whole story gives me anxiety. OP, I'm fucking done. I've spent the night at a bar and am just here in a shitty motel room unable to sleep and just fucking pissed. I had to be the stupid kid who still hoped Daddy might just secretly have loved him, and in reward for my stupidity, I got the same as I've always gotten. Nothing. Fucking nothing. Not a single fuck-all shred of remorse. My _favorite_ post. We don't get to opt into the family we are born into. That's why spouses and friends are so important. They're the family we pick. I'm so sorry this happened. Screw your father. You deserve better, and he should have taken that kind of shit to the grave with him. He could have lied and pretended or something if he was even a halfway decent person. As someone who has cut ties with family members, I am so sorry. I will likely be faced with this situation someday. It's an impossible decision. Do you forgive and let the person die in peace? Do you stand by your beliefs? Do you go and let them dump on you? I know it's easier said than done, but don't let this bug you. It was always the case that he didn't shit. Now it's just known to you as well. Go hug and appreciate the family you chose, and don't give him another minute of your time. OP. I'm glad he didn't lie. At least I got to hear some of what was going through his head in regards to me for 31 years, and as harsh as it was, I'd rather know that than him giving me some BS fairy-taled sob story apology. At least I finally got the answer I was looking for, but hoping I wouldn't get, and he got one last chance to kick me so we both win in a way. Commenté. Have been a passive observer for a while, but set up an account to reply to this post. Be the man your father was not. Go and see him. Hold his hand, and tell him all those times you hurt when he treated you like shit. Forgive him for what happened and hug him before you leave. That way, you are the bigger man. Let him know what he missed all those years and don't hold anything against him. When he dies, go to the funeral to say your final goodbyes. You will have a weight lifted off you that you would never have been able to lift off even with all the therapy sessions. Be the man your father was not. OP. I already saw him. I'm not going to forgive him. He doesn't deserve it. I have no plans to hug him, hold his hand, or demonstrate any affection. There is none. When he dies, his son will not be present at his funeral. I have no goodbye to give him. When he dies, I'll carry on with my life. I went to see him once, and that is it, no more. I can be the man he wasn't without doing those things. Deleted comment? Damn. You should have recorded the conversation and played it at his funeral. Show everyone what a total piece of shit that guy was. OP. Nah, I won't be there. Let them all have their moments remembering what an oh-so-great man he was. I'll be at home or work, or if I'm really lucky backpacking through Europe with my wife, unlikely as it is, but a guy can dream.